I'm Lon Milo DuQuette, and I'm going to read a little excerpt, a revised excerpt from a talk that I gave at the Ordo Templi Orientis National Convention in Portland, Oregon in the year 2003. I've revised it a little bit so that the dates and the years and the numbers and things are now up to date. Today being January 30th, 2021. I'm 72 years old. I've spent 47 of those years in the OTO. In those years, I've earned some of the highest honors the order can bestow, and on several occasions over the years, I've been encouraged to resign and threatened with expulsion. I've witnessed what I consider some of the darkest moments in the Order's history. Also, the most glorious. Within the magical crucible of OTO politics, I've learned profound lessons in patience, courtesy, honor, and ruthlessness. I've made deep and enduring friendships and suffered the most despicable acts of personal and fraternal betrayal. The OTO probably ruined my chances at ever being elected president. It has scarred my chest, ruined my back, and robbed my sleep. The order has given me a liberal arts education and is responsible for my writing career. Because of the OTO, I've traveled to England and Germany and Norway and Denmark and Sweden and Brazil and Japan and China and Poland and Croatia and Macedonia and Chile and Canada and Mexico. I'm probably leaving a few out. Haru Raha Lodge has been our extended family for over 43 years, providing colorful and loving and generous uncles and aunts for our son Jean-Paul. The OTO is my heart's delight, but only when it's not breaking my heart. Through it all, I never once considered resigning. This is not because I'm so strong or so dedicated or so wise. It's simply because the OTO is not something I belong to. It is something that belongs to me. It is something that I am. It's not easy being in the OTO, but being in the OTO is easy. All you have to do is survive. For as it is written, thou then who meetest jerks and assholes, rejoice because of them, for in them is strength, and by their means is a pathway opened unto that light. How should it be otherwise, O man and O woman, whose life is but a day in eternity, a drop in the ocean of time? How were the idiots, not many, couldst thou purge thy soul from the dross of earth? Is it but now that the higher life is beset with dolts and morons? Hath it not ever been so with the sages and hierophants of the past? They have been ignored and insulted. They have been tormented by governing bodies. Yet through this also has their glory increased. Rejoice, therefore, O initiate, for in the OTO, the greater thy trial, the greater thy triumph. And survival is the first and last ordeal of initiation. On November 15th, 1975, before there was a Grand Lodge, before there was an Areopagus or a Supreme Grand Council, before grand tribunals or electoral colleges, before notocons. I received my Minerval initiation in a 2-car garage in Dublin, California. My initiators were 2 surviving 9th degree members of the old Agape Lodge, Grady L. McMurtry and his then wife, Phyllis Seckler McMurtry. Only the 3 of us were present. It rained that night, so plans for a backyard garden ceremony had to be changed. I traveled by bus all night the night before. I was 27 years old. Constance and I had been married 8 years, and our son Jean-Paul was 3. I didn't have a job or a car or the slightest scrap of ambition. To raise the money for the bus ticket, I sold my tape recorder and a few of my precious books. Once in Dublin, I had to stay at a motel because there were concerns I might be a mass murderer or some kind of occult crazy. Security dictated I was not to know the address where my initiation was to be held. This made me very nervous because I still had many questions and doubts about Crowley and the type of people that worshipped him. Throughout the 12-hour bus trip, my imagination ran wild. I knew there was the real possibility that goats would be involved, or that I'd be raped and eaten. When I arrived to the motel, I called the phone number I was given. Phyllis answered. The first thing she said after I identified myself was, "Have you eaten?" Cautiously, I answered, "No. Have you?" When Phyllis arrived to pick me up, I was very relieved. So was she. She took me to her gingerbread house, fed me lunch, and talked all afternoon about Crowley, Thelema, and the OTO. Grady came home in the late afternoon, but I didn't see much of him until the ceremony. It was awesome. It was the most magical event of my life. Grady looked like a god. No, that night Grady was a god. Phyllis stood by and supported me like my holy guardian angel. In the years to follow, I would wonder how each of them could so completely veil their glory when not in temple. At my Minerval dinner, I listened to stories of survival. How after receiving the 9th degree from Aleister Crowley, Grady survived D-Day and Korea. How Phyllis and Grady each had survived the wild Agape Lodge days and the years when Carl Germer refused to initiate new members into the post-Crowley OTO. How only they, Helen Parsons Smith, and perhaps 2 others of the old lodge, had survived to see 1975. Finally, Grady brought out an old leg translation of the Yi Ching that had once belonged to Crowley. Crowley had painted oriental scenes in oils on the front and back covers, and the pages were filled with his handwritten notes and corrections. Then Grady unwrapped another treasure, Crowley's own Yi Ching sticks. 6 flat wooden sticks, one side blank, one side with a red line running vertically down the center. I was very impressed. He offered to let me consult the oracle. I asked, what is the OTO to me? The answer was number 7, the Army. Constance took her Minerval a few months later, and I took my first degree a little over 6 months after that at the same location by the same individuals. This time, Phyllis and Grady were assisted by our beloved late sister, Helen Parsons Smith. I believe it was the last initiation Phyllis and Grady would perform together. They had already separated. The split was bitter. Neither of them could decide who should get the mail addressed to the OTO, so for a while they agreed that the mail would be forwarded to me, and I would open it and decide who should get what. For a while, I didn't know whether the tiny OTO would survive. And that's that little bit of history. Thank you very much. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.